All right, let's bring in our guests for this hour. Joining us, criminal defense attorneys David Bruno and Eric Faddes. Hey, gentlemen, great to see you. Thank you so much for being on the show. David, I'll start with you, and we'll start with Lori Vallow Daybell. We have a sentencing date for her, and I can tell you this. Any of the cases that I've seen where children are the victims, you get fireworks at these sentencing hearings. I expect the same here. A lot of people in and around this case have expressed a lot of emotion about it. A lot of people in that area have expressed emotion. What are you expecting?
No, I'm with you. I mean, look, any sentence is tough to deal with emotionally on either side. But here, it's taken the nation by storm. I mean, just the fact that they were missing initially, and Lori and her new husband were vacationing poolside being served subpoenas, and then just the eerie facts that came out of this case as to how these two children were killed, certainly. And we already know from family members being at the courthouse and watching, and some of the interviews that our staff has done as this trial progresses, they're going to get their day in court. And I'm sure they're going to take advantage of it, and it's going to be some emotional testimony for sure.
Yeah, Eric Faddes, your thoughts. This is a woman who was convicted of killing her own children. I'm not sure there's many things worse in the eyes of a judge, jury, or anyone. Your thoughts on what you're expecting at that sentencing?
Yeah, just some chilling circumstances, Michael, that I think the whole world is aware of now. You know, it's received nationwide and international media coverage. And so it's going to be high profile. There's going to be a lot of folks interested to see what happens during that sentencing. I think, you know, as the evidence came out, Lori Valadeable kind of showed that she was very self-serving. She's trying to protect herself. At times she's trying to protect Chad Daybell, who still has a trial coming up. And so I think all of that is really going to weigh against her, of course, at this sentencing hearing. I don't think she has much for prayer.
Turning now to the Zeiler case, the babysitter cold case trial. David Bruno, the prosecution focusing in on what they had to work with, 4 aggravating factors, the most important of which being the heinousness of this crime and the fact that other crimes were committed at that scene. 2 murders makes it an aggravating factor. The fact that it was premeditated because it was an act of suffocation. So throughout that 3 to 5 minutes it took to kill them through suffocation, that creates an aggravating factor. Your thoughts on the state's closing argument in that case?
Yeah, I mean, look, I can go either way on this, and I've been listening to you, and I think we're both in agreement here. The defense, it's an odd set of circumstances. 33 years after the crime, but it's because this individual was out and about. He was not turning himself in. He was a fugitive out there, and it's only because of the DNA that they were able to access on a new crime that they were able to link this up. And then you got the defense attorney doing his job, doing everything that he could. There was a couple objections there that were sustained, that he was trying to get into some of the mitigating factors that weren't enumerated, specifically about the mental capacity of the defendant. And I think it was a slick move by the defendant. It gives the jurors a lot to think about. However, unlike a lot of the states out there where jurors have to be unanimous to the death penalty, this is a state that does not require unanimity and only requires 8. So for that reason, I think it really could go either way.
Yeah, I agree. I think that change really makes a huge difference, Eric Faddes. Although, I thought, as David said, I thought the defense did a fantastic job working with a set of facts that certainly is not something that you would want to have to deal with as a defense attorney. And they basically put forth 41 different mitigating factors. But the judge did say to this jury, it's not a mathematical equation. It's not a methodical equation. They're going to go in, look at the suggestions of mitigation by the defense. They're going to look at the aggravating factors, of which there were 4 put forth by the state, and determine the seriousness. And that's what they're weighing. Your thoughts on how they might come down?
Yeah, exactly right. You know, it's not this math problem that they have to figure out. This is a human determination that these jurors are going to be back there deciding. And you know, one thing that has come up is of course, the mental health issues allegedly on behalf of the defendant Zeiler. And as we've learned over time, you know, I think the consensus among the public has been to understand better sort of mental health and how it can translate into behavior. And then we saw in the courtroom, Zeiler is having these outbursts. He's erratic. He's he's disobeying the judge. And in one sense, that paints him in a bad light. But in another sense, is that consistent with those mitigating factors regarding his mental disturbance? And will the jury put all of those pieces together and side with him and not sentence him to death? That remains to be seen.
All right, David. Bruno, turning now to the murdered mom attorney on trial case. Merritt put to us, will spend the rest of his life in prison, according to the judge. Your reaction to the judge's decision in that case?
Yeah, sure. No, agreeable. Too bad it didn't happen on our hour. You know, Michael, this is what we're accustomed to, me coming on for verdicts. But look, it's a no-brainer here, especially you had the ankle monitor that put him at the scene right then and there with the mom. You had the mom's text messages that clearly said that there was something wrong with the defendant on the date he was to surrender. And then he took the stand. And when defendants take the stand, the credibility goes right on him. And here he says, oh, these two masked individuals did this. Well, if that's true, why wouldn't you come forward? Why did you steal the car? Why did you go and leave and avoid apprehension? This was a no-brainer for the jury, and the judge did the right thing with the maximum life sentence here.
Yeah, at the end of the day, prosecutor very strongly telling this jury not to give any credence at all to what she called his BS story. And I think that's what they did. They came back in 59 minutes or so with their guilty verdict. All right, gentlemen, stand by. We do have to take a break.